チャンネル登録、いいねボタンよろしくお願いします。
チャンネル登録。
You got it, bro.
You guys lost Tsuji. He was a big part of your franchise for a very long time. So, what do you think about the upcoming season and the new players that have come into your team this year?
Yeah, obviously Tsuji was a huge piece. He was we had spent 9 years together. We came in here together, so it really bums me out that he's not here anymore. Sort of the face, not the face, but I mean he definitely was probably the Japanese face of the franchise. And but we added we obviously add Sato from Toyama, who is going to be really good for us. He's he's kind of a bigger shooter, a little bit more aggressive, can play like down on the block.
I love him.
Obviously, we had Matt, who's going to give us some things that we haven't ever really had. We've never had like a guard import here. So just his shooting, his IQ at the guard level, I think is going to help us a lot. So, I mean, I'm excited. I think obviously we have a good seat. I think we have a good team, and I think we have another chance to make a run at this thing.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy though to see all these Japanese players kind of changing teams. We talk about it pretty often, but all these top Japanese players that have played at these company teams where people or those players wanted to stay at like Toyotas or Hitachi, Mitsubishi. What do you think the difference is now?
I mean, it's as bad as it sounds, it's probably a lot of the money. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, the B-League has really changed the landscape. Right. I mean, these teams are getting these sponsorships. These teams are getting sort of, maybe owners, or they're just getting like an influx of money. And, the likes of Hiroshima, the likes of sort of Ryukyu, like it's teams that haven't really ever been in that limelight. They're ready to spend, and they think that, maybe buying a big Japanese guy or a guy that was on maybe a playoff Final Four championship Japanese guy is obviously going to put them over the top, which I think it's definitely somewhat of the right logic. And yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's just sort of changing, you know what I mean? Like it's getting to the point where some of these teams that sort of aren't winning games because they're new or whatever, they're ready to start to try to make their way up the ladder.
What do you think? Do you think it's good or bad for the league in the future?
I think it's great, man. I think it's great. I mean, I think it creates competition amongst organizations. So yeah, when we were just here with the company teams, they got complacent. You know what I mean? They knew they could get everyone. They had the biggest budgets and everything like that. But now these organizations have to compete. You know what I mean? Like these pro teams. Look at Chiba. Look at what Chiba's built. You know what I mean? Like I can tell you straight up, like Chiba used to be like the whipping boy. Like they weren't very good at all. Like when Reggie Geary was the coach, they didn't have any money. Like it was like, oh, we gonna roll these dudes. But now Chiba's no joke. So it's like, I think it's going to be good for the future of this league because it's going to create competition amongst organizations.
Yeah. See, I tend to agree with you 1,000%. It's interesting to look around the landscape and see national team guys on every team, not just on 3 teams. I think it engages fan bases. I think it makes everybody more interested, and the competitiveness goes up. I don't want to know who the champion is before the season starts.
I totally agree. And like, obviously, I don't think I'll be here in 2026 when it really goes to the Super League. But I think that when that happens, I mean, you're seeing teams like Mikawa. Like I heard Saga. Look at Nagasaki. Like these teams are building like these beautiful venues, and like the teams like Kawasaki, Shibuya, and Toyota, they don't even have a new venue. So it's like, do they get in? I mean, but you can see the powers are starting to sort of shift away from the whole company idea.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it couldn't be better for Japanese basketball. I think it's grown exponentially just in the years since you or even I have been here, and I only see it going up in the future.
I agree. I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger. And, obviously I talk to agents and they're like, man, like we're not even trying to send guys to Europe anymore. We're trying to send them to Japan. And like,
exactly.
I mean, like we had Pablo on the team who played in the ACB, and, Matt just came over from the ACB, and like Pablo's like, we don't have anything like this. Like we don't have the production. We don't have the flames. We don't have, You know what I mean? Like my team, we spend a whole day doing media day. And then so they can put on some great video before the games, but sort of like an NBA game. And like in the ACB, you're lucky to get announced the starting lineup. So it's like Japanese basketball has done a great job of sort of adopting sort of competition, but also like the showmanship behind it.
Mm-hmm. And so I have a question for you, because going back to what you just said, with so many guys coming into Japan now and the influx of talent and the influx of guys who want to get into the league, what kind of advice do you have for guys coming into Japan in their first year, their second year? What can they do in order to help them have a long career here and really establish a home?
Man, I think obviously number one is obviously being a good guy. You know, I mean, obviously Japanese basketball still kind of hangs their hat on, having good dudes. I think from being a player, like obviously there, you get up between the lines and it's like, I don't care who it is on the other side, but like very, very rarely do you hear of like, oh, that import's a jerk or that import isn't a good dude. Like usually if that's the case, that dude lasts the year or maybe half the year and he's out. Yep. Then you get guys that like maybe aren't at the same level of a guy's name that you're hearing somewhere else, but it's like he treats his teammates with respect. Like he's a good dude. He's not complaining. Like, and that guy kind of gets like a little bit longer of a career here. You know what I mean? So I think that that's important. And then I think, as crazy as it sounds, like I know a lot of guys come over here worried about their numbers and think that their numbers are going to keep them here. But like, I'll be honest, I think it's all about winning and losing. You know what I mean? Like, I use Yokohama as an example. There's been some guys that have come through, had some big games with Yokohama, but like they have a new roster every year because they don't win any games. But it's like you come in and win some games and get the organization kind of behind you as if you can win games. I think you're going to stick around for a while.
I would tend to agree. And I tell people Japan is unlike anywhere else. The conversation begins and ends with respect, and Japan values good guys over good players. You're a good guy here, you can have a career.
100%, man. Like, you got to be a good dude. You got to get along with management. Like, you can't be out there wilding out on the court with the referees, like arguing with the coach. Like, of course, we have our, problems that, we disagree with certain things. But, like, these guys that are going off the deep end with it and think that they're in the NBA over here, those are the guys that are no longer here.
Yep. I agree. You want to coach? I'm asking seriously. Do you? Because you're a high IQ guy.
I think so. I think I want to coach at probably like the youth level, like maybe like the high school level. I think the college level would be fun, but like it's a little bit stressful, and I feel like the pro level is kind of a little bit harder to teach guys. Like if I was to do like individuals with like pro guys or like overseas guys, I think I could get something out of that. But like in a team setting at the professional level or even the NBA level, I think it's hard to break down guys and get into them. But I think it'd be really, really fun to like get like some like 7th, 8th graders, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th graders and really like be able to kind of like teach and really like conform some of these kids into like really good basketball players and watch them going above and beyond. And so, yeah, I think that's probably what I'll do next is try to teach at the youth level because I think it's the most fun level to coach at.